Wesley and Will.
Welcome to another episode of Other Side News. I'm Wesley.
I'm Will.
And today we want to talk about a Netflix original series called Stranger Things.
It was awesome.
Yes, it was very well done. Best way I can think about it is it was Goonies meets Stand By Me meets E.T. meets Poltergeist wrapped up in a Stephen King story. It was really well done, and
so good to see Winona Ryder.
Yes, it was so great to see Winona Ryder again, who has aged, obviously, but her voice hasn't, which was just weird. She sounds just like she did back in Beetlejuice. I was having flashbacks majorly, but she did a wonderful job, as did the entire cast. I mean, this was predominantly a very young cast that was on screen a lot, and these kids did a great job. Spoiler-free, but a basic rundown of what the show is, it's set in this small town, Indiana, Hawkins, Indiana, and
in the 1980s.
In the 1980s.
The greatest decade ever.
And Winona Ryder's son, Will Byers, vanishes.
They called my name a lot.
That's not giving it away. That's the title of the first episode, The Disappearance of Will Byers. He vanishes, and it's his friends, along with his mother, along with a chief of police who I thought was going to be a complete douchebag when I first saw him, but, talk about a character that took me by surprise.
99 out of 100 times, kid goes missing. The kid is with a parent or a relative.
What about the other time?
What?
You said 99 out of 100. What about the other time? The one!
And their efforts to find him, and things are much more sinister than they initially imagined. Also featuring a little girl, which is shown in the trailer, that has some very interesting powers. And God, Millie Bobby Brown did a wonderful job playing this girl. It was wonderfully done, and just another great Netflix original series. I tell you, with Orange is the New Black, House of Cards, Daredevil, all the Marvel ones they're doing. Netflix is really producing some high quality stuff.
Great stuff.
I was really my only disappointment with Stranger Things. I wish it had been longer. I've read some people saying that it was slow moving. No, it was a character driven story, and without the bond.
Yeah, there's only 8 episodes, so you can get through. You can
get through it easily. It's 8 hours long. Some people said that was too long, and I just say fuck you. It wasn't long enough.
Great series.
Because without caring about these characters, the story has no weight. And so the time they spend building the characters, I think is time well spent. By the time you hit the finale, you know all of them, you're rooting for them. So, excellently done.
Well, everybody thinks, and going back to the story, everybody thinks that Will's dead. But, Winona Ryder's one of the few that believes right off the bat. Her character, Joyce.
Yeah, she doesn't give up. She's a great... Yeah.
He's communicating through the lights.
She's a great mother. So yeah, it's wonderfully done.
There's definitely a paranormal touch to it. It's really...
So now, as Internet Protocol states, I think it's a law somewhere. We must give a warning. Spoilers from here on out.
All right,
so it'll be a 5 countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You have now entered.
You still here?
The spoiler time.
Okay, so now the end of this show and what it deals with the other dimension, the underneath. The directors,
so
the writers, they creators of the show, the Duffer Brothers, they had an interview and they said that, Netflix hasn't greenlit a second season yet, but if they do, they have a 30-page document written on the underneath that they developed that they want to put into their second season. They want to spend the second season exploring what that place was, what that creature was, why there was only one of them, and what happened to Will Byers, and what happened to Eleven. Because at the end, she destroys the monster, disintegrates that son of a bitch, and disappears herself.
Well,
so is she dead, or did she go over to the other side?
Here's the and the one thing with the underneath is, I'm sure obviously you've watched it, or if you haven't watched it, go watch it and then come back and watch this episode. But there are just a couple spots, it seems, within this town that you can push through, even though you can push through the underneath into our world.
Yeah, and that reminded me of thin spots, like in Stephen King's Crouch End. I think they borrowed from that. There are just places in our reality that are soft.
So there was one that's in the basement of this
the lab. Well, the one in the lab, Eleven created when she was trying to escape the monster. She created it through her psychic power, which is why I think she crossed over. Because she created that.
So then there's
doorway.
one
But in the tree,
Winona
yeah.
Ryder's house.
Yep, in her house
That's
and in
one.
the tree.
And then the one
And
that's
that was
in
a
the
big
tree.
question of mine. Could the creature create them? After
I think they were just
it
holes that
followed
were
her
being
through, or
formed.
was it just holes because reality had been breached?
Well, because the scientists kept fucking with it.
Mm-hmm.
They kept sending things into this breach and stuff. But that was the one thing I was confused. I didn't know if they were using her as a weapon to deal with this underneath thing.
I do believe that they knew nothing about the underneath.
None of the underneath until
They were building a weapon.
Right.
You know, like The Men Who Stare at Goats, that movie. They
has-
want a psychic weapon. She's telekinetic and she's doing remote
They
viewing.
called her L.
Yes, 11.
Yeah, well, 11, but the
Yeah.
the little boys were calling
her L.
L.
And she
So
had
she's got
psychic powers.
basically Jean Grey powers.
Yeah.
You know, she can melt your brain if she
But- mm-hmm.
wants to. She can flip. You know, she flips a van. You know, you see that in the trailer to protect the boys when they're trying to get away. But
Now initially,
She whoops some ass.
Now initially, I'm not sure, and maybe there'll be flashbacks. Martin Brenner, Dr. Martin Brenner, the guy that was keeping her locked up, who basically took her from her mother, raised her, she called her Papa.
They were doing tests
It's
on her mother. with-
Another Stephen King
acid
fire starter,
and-
doctored LSD, leading
Yeah.
to telekinetic powers. But anyway, I don't know what his grand scheme was, but essentially it just seemed like he was building a weapon. He was having her do remote viewing, and he would kept testing how far
And that was
she could
right. They kept
listen to people. And so I think she discovered the monster with the
By
first
accident.
time when they had her in the sensory
Right.
deprivation tank, and she told him about it. And that's when he wanted to make contact, because he realized we've done something that even I wasn't planning
Well,
on.
like who was she? Was that Russian that she was?
Yes,
spying-
I believe she was
So
spying
there's this
on
one
Russia.
scene when she's doing remote viewing, which you don't see remote viewing. Maybe we should do an episode on one of
Watch
our other
The Men
shows
Who
about
Stare
it.
at Goats.
Yeah, there you go, The Men That Stare at Goats. But anyways, you know, and so she's listening to this guy, and he's talking Russian and everything, and that's when
The
next
creature
step.
detects her,
Right.
or whatever, she reaches too far. And that's why when she goes to make contact, it is her power that creates the doorway when she's trying to get away from it.
Yeah, it's a good show.
It's an excellent show that leaves a lot of questions. Will Byers, you know, hawking up a baby one into the sink.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing that came out of the girl's mouth when they were looking, so I'm assuming that's how it reproduces.
So Will, if you again go back and see if you haven't seen it yet, and you come to find out Winona Ryder's son's been in the underneath
For a
realm, for about a week, and when they do find him, he's got this frickin'
basically
face
umbilical,
hugger
yeah.
umbilical cord thing down his throat, and obviously it's leaving something down in there. So at the end, you see not only is he still regurgitating these like slug things up, but he flashes
quickly
and he
over-
sees the underneath
Yeah.
in his kitchen, which again would make sense because I think that his kitchen is one of the doorways, and I think that maybe that creature is making doorways when it's trying to leave, or when there's
Perhaps.
something traumatic going on, like the girl that cut her hand at the pool that they
Yeah.
ended up looking for.
Well, it was attracted to blood. It was a predator, and and that was actually my main question watching it, was why was there only one of them? And that's something I really hope. I hope they get to do another season of this, because I
bet
want
there's tons.
I want that question answered, because I was genuinely interested
One was
in
enough.
what the other side was.
Yeah.
I mean, bullets couldn't hurt it. They set the dang thing on fire. They
Put
beat
in
it with a
bear
spiked
trap,
bat, put it in a bear trap, yet it took, basically the Phoenix to disintegrate the son of a bitch to
Yeah.
get him to go away. Love it. Keep it up, Netflix. Put
Thank
cable
you.
out of business.
Thank you for original content. This is the proof once again that something new. and
Original can work. Oh, well, it's an homage, but it's an original tale.
But I mean, you can borrow
Yeah.
different things, but it's better than going and seeing. I'd stay home, watch Netflix instead of going to see Crap Busters.
Yes, you could do that.
This is Other Side News, and we're out.
Bye.